So we're going to start this evening by warming up our feet a little bit. And just to say, as you do this, if you need to take a bit of support from the wall behind you, for example, or you could hold on to the edge of a chair or balance yourself. But we're going to be rolling on the toes like this. So I hope you can see that okay. I'm just curling my toes under and pushing a little onto my toenails. And then I'm rolling the other way onto the pads of the toes. And you're in charge of how much pressure you put on here. And I would suggest you begin with just quite gentle pressure. And just see how that is to roll on your toes. Obviously, if you've had an injury or an accident and it's very sore or tender, then you be very gentle, or you might not want to do this at all. You could just sort of wiggle your toes, or if you've got a ball or something, you could roll in the arch of your foot. That's a nice alternative. But if all is well, then once you've warmed your toes up a little bit, we're going to curl the toes under and stay in this position. So I'm putting a little bit of weight down onto my toenails, onto the tops of my toes. I'm opening here the front of the ankle. And I'm going to just sigh down into that sensation. So if it feels good, you can deepen it, put a bit more pressure on. Opening the front of the ankle. Asserting your position here on the ground, on the earth. And then we're going to go the other way. So you come onto the pads of your toes, and it's quite nice to fan the toes out, spread them out as you do this. So if you put your big toe down and stretch the other toes out away from the big toe, lift your heel high. So hopefully feeling a little bit of sensation of stretch in the sole of the foot or the arch of the foot. And again, you can sigh or yawn or breathe into that sensation. Fanning the toes, lifting the heel high. And once you've done that, we're going to give this foot a little bit of a shake out. And that's where you might want to take a bit of support to help you keep your balance. So you want your ankle to go really floppy and wobbly. And it can be quite nice just to imagine anything you might have been worrying about, or anything that might have bothered you today or over the course of the week. When you're ready, you're just going to give it a big kick out like this. Ha! And out it goes. Sometimes you need two of those. Ha! Kicking it away. And you come and stand again on both feet. And before we do the other side, I'm going to suggest that you let your eyes close and be curious about the sensations in your feet, ankles, knees, and hips. So comparing and contrasting the left side and right side. And then open up your eyes, and we're going to do the same on the other side. So starting just by rolling on your toes. Rolling on the toes. According to, how much toe rolling your toes are up for. Some people have very mobile toes. And other people, you might find your toes are a little bit more stiff. So part of the exercise is discovering this. And as you feel your toes starting to get more used to this movement, you can curl your toes under, put a little pressure down on your toenails, open up the front of your ankle, and yawn or sigh into that sensation. And then rolling the other way and fanning out the toes. I like to start with my big toe and stretch the other toes away, but I have heard some people like to start with their little toe and then stretch towards the big toe. But however you do it, fan the toes, lift the heel high. So you're opening the sole of the foot, the arch of the foot. And again, yawning or sighing into that. Remember, you're in charge of how hard or how easy this is. How much sensation that you want to feel in your foot. And I suggest you don't overdo it. You're just finding something you can do that really puts your attention in your feet so they're not forgotten. And then we're going to give this side a little bit of a shake out. So take a little bit of support on a wall or chair if that helps you keep your balance. Let that ankle go really floppy. Shaking down into your ankle, anything that might need to be sent out. And when you feel you're ready, little kick out. Sometimes you need 2 or even 3. And then we're going to stand again on both feet. And I'd like to invite you again to close your eyes and to let your body find its own comfortable position over your feet. So don't think too hard about your posture, and instead just let your body weight rock and sway forward and back, or side to side, or even round and round, until you feel a sense that your 2 feet are both doing the same amount of work. They're both bearing the same amount of weight, as are both of your knees and both of your hips. And you could leave your eyes closed if that feels okay, or feel welcome to open them up and become aware of your breath. And for this evening's session, I'm going to be offering you a number of different ways of thinking about the relationship between the breath and the body, a little bit like the relationship between the water and the earth, or water and earth. So beginning with this idea, what if your breath flowing in and flowing out was like a wave flowing in and flowing out? And what if your arms were like 2 lovely, soft but slightly heavy pieces of seaweed? And as the wave of breath comes in, the seaweed's going to float up. And as the wave of the breath goes out, the seaweed's going to be gently dropped back down. So let's try that. Seaweed arms floating up on the inhalation and back down on the exhalation, just at your own rhythm. As if the breath were like a series of waves rolling in and rolling out. Rolling in and rolling out. So we're letting our breath be quite natural. Just like the waves are quite natural, no one, as far as we know, is controlling them. They're just as they are. They flow in and they flow out. And they pick things up and they put things down as they go. So it's almost like the breath here is initiating the movement. And the movement is very much coordinated with the breath. So the body and the breath are moving together. At the end of your next exhale, leave your arms by your sides. And it might be that you're already quite instinctively doing this, but what I'd like you to do now is slightly channel your breath. So in the same way that we can channel water, like we can pressurize it through a hose pipe or through a mill race to power a water wheel, we can channel the breath, slightly pressurize it using Ujjayi breathing. And in Ujjayi breathing, you're just breathing in and out through your nose. So you're already slightly restricting the amount of space there is for breath to come in and out. And you let there be a soft rubbing in the back of your throat. A nice way to feel for it if it's new is to breathe out from the back of your throat with a sound like steaming up a mirror. And then you try it with your mouth closed. And it allows you to make the breath a little softer and a little slower. with a feeling of channeling, or in some way making the breath more powerful. So using that breathing now, we're going to do a similar practice, inhaling, letting the arms come up. And this time, leave your arms up, and as you exhale, lift your heels. So you're balancing on the balls of your feet. Then with your inhale, lower your heels back down, but at the same time, reach up through your arms so you get very long and tall. And with your next exhale, lower the arms back down. So we're going to do that 3 more times in total. So slightly slower breath. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, heels up. Inhale, lower the heels, reaching up through the arms. And exhale, lower the arms back down. Continuing at your own pace. Observing the effect that the breath can have in the body, the effect that the breath can have on the posture or the sensation. And when you've completed, let your eyes close again, let your body weight rock and sway, and be curious now about how that's feeling in your body. See if there's any difference in sensation or changes to your standing posture. And then open up your eyes, and what we're going to do next is a sort of little pelvic movement. And you're going to need to have your knees a little bit bent for this to work. So somewhere between having bent knees and having straight legs, there's a kind of middle ground where your knees are just a little bit soft. And we're going to let the pelvis tip forward and back. Okay, so have a little play with this in your own body. See if you can get a nice sort of little lilting movement. Here it is. So I thought I'd get my model pelvis to do this with me so you can see what we're doing. So a little bit of tipping forward and then tipping back. And in terms of the different qualities that different parts of our body might have, we can think of our feet and our legs as being like our earth, our base. And then our pelvis is where the water lives. So the word pelvis in Latin means basin. You can think of the pelvis almost like a little bowl. And here we're just tipping it forward and back so that we could slosh around the watery contents. And this is particularly important for the next thing we're going to do. But what I'd like you to do is imagine if your feet and your legs are like the earth, they're going to be like a mountain. And we're going to tip the pelvis forward like we were pouring all the water out of the pelvis and come into a forward bend as if the upper body was like a waterfall rolling down the mountain. To come up again, we're going to push into the earthy feet and legs, bending the knees, pressing forward into the knees, and we'll stand up. I'm going to put the model pelvis down, and we're going to have a go at this Uttanasana, forward fold, like a waterfall, with an arm movement as well. So let's do it together. This time we'll side sweep the arms as we breathe in. And as you breathe out, soften your knees so your pelvis can tip forward, and side sweep the arms. You can bring them to the floor or you can just rest them on your lower back. And let your upper body fall down like a waterfall. Tuck your chin so the back of your neck can lengthen. Then to come up again on the inhale, push forward into your knees, press down into your feet. So it's almost like you fly back up. And exhaling, lower the arms back down by your side. So we're going to do that another 3 times. Keep the knees soft and let them bend as you fall forward so that your lower belly can rest on your top thighs. And you really feel your legs are the earth. They're supporting you to let the upper body be like water flowing down. Inhale, pressing into those earthy legs to fly back up. And exhaling, lowering the arms. 2 more times through. If you find that it doesn't feel good to drop your head all the way down, just come to halfway. Rest your hands on your lower back. Pressing into the feet and knees to stand up. So on the last one, if you feel it would be nice to stay in the forward fold, being a waterfall, you could stay for 2 or 3 breaths, fingertips lightly on the floor, chin tucked, back of the neck long, belly resting on the top thighs. And coming up on an inhalation when you feel ready. And when you finish, you could take your feet a little wider apart and let your watery pelvis swirl around in a more of a kind of a hula hooping movement, so in a circle, circling the hips. And you might see if you could go halfway around with your inhalation and halfway around with your exhalation. And when you feel like it's the right moment to, reverse the direction and go the other way. And the next thing we're going to do will be on all fours, kneeling on the floor. So to get to that position, I suggest you start with your feet a little wider than your hips and come down just halfway. Pause, and then you can bend your knees a little bit more, reach one hand and then the other hand, and lower yourself comfortably down to hands and knees. Where you could carry on where you left off, circling the hips. So if you have your knees underneath your hips, there's going to be a little bit of a gap between your knees. Imagine a little dot in between your knees and you're circling around that dot. Halfway around as you breathe in, halfway around as you breathe out. So the movement and the breath stay coordinated. There's a relationship between the body and the breath. They're connected. And when you feel it's the right moment for you, reversing the direction and circling the other way. So to feel nice and stable in this position, you can slightly stretch your fingers, or if you have any discomfort in your wrists, you could opt to do this on your knuckles instead. And you can gently push into the floor with the tops of your feet now, like where your shoelaces would be if you were wearing shoes. So you're aware of the support of the earth underneath your feet, underneath your knees. We're going to come back to the middle. And if you could think of your breath again now like a lovely wave crashing up the beach. And you're going to let this wave come from the lower belly, over the abdomen, over the center of the chest, and lift your chin. And then as the wave of the breath goes out, it's like the tide going out, and it's going to take you with it from the back of the waist, pressing up and then pulling back. So we're going to breathe in, and it's like the inhale slides the breastbone forward and lifts the chin, and you'll feel your tail lift up in the air. As you breathe out, pressing down a little through your arms, let the exhale draw you back, like the tide drawing back. So with the inhale, we're going to slide forward. With the exhale, we're going to draw back. As if the inhale could flow up the front of the body. And the exhale could flow down the back of the body. And you do this at your own pace. You can use the Ujjayi breathing if that feels nice. And you can make this really quite a small movement, or you can turn up the volume, as I like to describe it, and you can make it really quite a big movement, letting the exhale really pull you back a long way, and then letting the inhale slide you forward quite close to the floor, so you come through more like a kind of cobra, striking cobra. It really depends on what's accessible in your body and what you feel like at this moment. So you may feel like doing something stronger, or you may feel like just letting your body be gently moved by those tides of breath. And see if you can feel how your pelvis is tilting forward and back still. Just like when we were standing. And then we're going to come and have a little rest. You could rest in the child's pose if you like that position. Or come to kneeling. Or you could lay out flat on your front. And then we're going to lie down on our back. And you might like to have a cushion at the ready. You don't need it just yet. Just put it next to you at the ready. And if you could come and lie on your back, you don't need any, it would be best not to put anything under your head just at the moment. And you need to have your knees bent and your feet on the mat, feet on the floor, and your arms resting by your sides. And I'm going to suggest you think of your arms again like those two lovely long heavy pieces of sea kelp, and let them move again with the waves of breath in such a way that as you inhale, your arms, seaweed arms, are going to lift up into the air and up above your head, and as you exhale, let them settle back down with a fairly free, natural breathing pattern. Just to get used to being in this position, to warm up the shoulders, to explore what your range of movement is with your shoulders through your arms. Don't force them anywhere they don't want to go. But see if you can get a feeling of, it's almost like the breath that's lifting the arms up. The breath initiates the movement. And then leave your arms at the end of your next exhale down by your sides and become aware of your feet. So you might like to tuck your heels quite close to your sit bones, and you might like to imagine that your feet were getting bigger. It's great because you can't see them in this position, so it's easier to imagine that that might really be true, that your toes might be stretching out a little bit, your feet getting longer and wider. And see if you could pick up the pads of your toes without lifting up the balls of your feet. So you're just gently lifting up the very tips of your toes, but leaving the balls of your feet down on the floor. Do this quite gently and tentatively. It has the potential to activate and strengthen the arches of your feet, but it equally has the potential to give you a bit of a cramp or a spasm if you do it too hard. So just tentatively see, is that possible? I often call this flaring the toes. Let me move this cushion and then you might be able to see my toes. You're just picking up the pads of the toes. So as you lift the pads of the toes, maybe there's a sense that you can push down slightly through the balls of the feet. And we're also going to be rooting down through our heels. So we're just lifting and lowering the very tips of the toes with a sense that the rest of the foot could be quite gently settling down and rooting into the earth. The feet are going to be our earth, our anchor, our root, our support. And you might find as you pick up your toes in that way that actually the whole of the legs activate. You might feel a little bit of something happening in the top thighs here. I'm going to invite you to intensify that sensation by putting your cushion now between your knees. And what we're going to do is pick up the toes and squeeze the cushion as we breathe out. And then breathing in, you can relax. So picking up the toes, gently squeeze the cushion as you breathe out. And then let the inhale arrive by itself. All right, so when you got used to that little rhythm, we're going to add the arms and make a sequence. So the sequence goes like this. You can use Ujjayi breath, so slightly slower breathing. You inhale and take your arms up into the space above your head and leave them up there. As you exhale, flare your toes, squeeze your cushion and let your pelvis lift off the floor. Stay like that as the next breath comes in. And then with the next exhale, lower the arms and lower the hips in one smooth, coordinated movement. And we're going to do that 3 more times. And it's quite important as you do this that you don't move your head from side to side. So now you've seen it and now you've heard it and you know what you're doing. Just trust yourself. Don't worry about looking at the screen. You could even do it with your eyes closed. And you inhale, raise your arms. Exhale, pressing down into the balls of your feet. Squeeze your cushion, lift your hips for those nice, strong, earthy legs. And then let the wave of the inhalation roll all the way in and up. Deepening the shape. And as you exhale, lower the arms and lower the hips in one smooth, coordinated movement. 2 more times through. Inhale, arms. Exhale, earthy feet and legs, lift the hips and maintain that support through your feet and legs so that inhalation can roll in like a really high tide, opening up the shape. And exhale, everything settles back down again, arms down and hips down. Last one. Inhaling, the arms lift, exhaling, the pelvis lifts, supporting through the feet, gentle squeeze on your cushion. Then let the breath roll on in and up. And exhale, arms down, hips down. And then you can take your cushion out from between your knees and take the pointy end of the cushion and tuck it behind your head all the way down so the pointy edge of the cushion supports the very base of your neck, the little bony lump at the base of your neck where C7 meets T1, little bony lump there. So the cushion supports all the way down right to the base of the neck. And if that doesn't feel like quite enough, put a second cushion in underneath to support the base of your skull as well. And then you're going to take both knees towards your chest. And we're going to do a little bit of Arpanasana, or knees to chest pose. And in this practice, I'd like you to think of your breath like almost like a kind of pressure washer, and you're clearing the decks, quite literally. So with a long exhalation, soften your elbows, bring your knees towards your chest, and it's like you're breathing out, breathing away from you anything you no longer want or need. On the inhale, your arms straighten and your knees move away. So it's a long exhalation. You can use the Ujjayi breath with a feeling of clearing the decks or clearing a space. If it's awkward for you to hold both knees together, you can do this one at a time. Focus on the exhalation. Make it long and soft and fine, like you're clearing things out. And the inhale will arrive all by itself. Each time you do the practice, see if you can make the exhale a little bit longer. And when you feel you've done enough of that, just let everything settle. So settling in a symmetrical position. And what we're going to do next is set up a supported resting position, which if you set your space up a little bit like I have, you might find you could just stretch your legs out and put them up on your chair or settee. And you need to get a little bit closer so that my legs can be supported there. So this is quite a nice option. Feet up on a chair or settee. Keep your cushion under your head. You could put a scarf to cover your eyes and wrap yourself up with a blanket. Or if you're in your third trimester of pregnancy, then you want to be curled up on your side, and you can put a cushion between your knees, plenty of padding under your head. Or you might have some other way of being that you know about, that you know is just the right thing for you to do now for a resting practice, a guided relaxation practice. So get yourself settled and comfortable. If you want to put on warm socks and warm jumpers, that's a nice idea. And get yourself ready for a practice of yoga nidra. So nidra is a Sanskrit word which means sleep. And yoga is a Sanskrit word which has lots of different meanings, but one of them could be a kind of awake, an awakening or an awareness. So in yoga nidra, we are awake and aware of the body as it rests. And the only thing that is required for a good and satisfying practice of yoga nidra is that you are truly comfortable. In whatever position you choose, you could be lying on your back, you could be lying on your side, you could have your feet up on your settee, or you might like to just lie flat. I suggest whatever position you're lying in, if you're lying down, that you do put support for your head. And you can also practice yoga nidra sitting if you prefer. As long as you're comfortable and you can stay still. So stillness is quite an important part of the practice. Can we let the physical body now become really very settled and stable and still? So the physical body takes on some of the qualities of earth, the earth element. Dense, heavy, solid, grounded. So if you need to make any little adjustments, wriggles or fidgets, or get extra cushions or blankets to be really comfortable, please do so. And then make an intention, if you can, to let your physical body now really settle and become still, not through a kind of effort or willpower, but through a sense of comfort and ease. And you might use your breath now in that way, with some yawning or sighing, or simply some slightly longer, softer exhalations, releasing breaths. Long, soft out breaths. With a sense of being able to breathe your body down more intimately into the support underneath you. And as you do this practice, I invite you to have an image, if it's helpful, of a sort of dry, dusty earth. And as you breathe out long and soft and fine, it's like rain falling or like water from a watering can, nourishing the earth and allowing the dust to settle. So the breath in the body is like water settling down in the earth, nourishing the earth, hydrating the earth, and allowing for the dust to settle. And perhaps you create a feeling in the body almost of a sort of fine, rich, fertile mud, which is just perfect for planting seeds. And I'd like to invite you now to take your attention around the body, resting your awareness in each part of the body as it's named. And you might do this with a feeling almost like planting a seed in each part of the body. So beginning with the right hand thumb, planting a seed of attention in the right hand thumb. And now the right index finger, middle finger, ring finger, little finger, thumb and fingers all together. Awareness planted in the thumb and all of the fingers. The palm of the hands, back of the hands, right wrist, elbow, shoulder, the right side chest, waist, hip, and down the right leg, through the knee, ankle, top of the foot, sole of the foot, and little seeds of attention in the right big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, little toe. Bringing awareness now to the whole of the right side of the body, all together, all the way through, like a freshly planted field of attention, of awareness. And now planting a seed of attention into the thumb of the left hand, the left index finger, middle finger, ring finger, little finger. Awareness planted in the thumb and all of the fingers together. The palm of the hand and the back of the hand, left wrist, elbow, shoulder, left side chest, waist, hip, and all down the left leg, left knee, ankle, top of the foot, sole of the foot, and a little seed of attention in the left big toe, second toe, third toe, fourth toe, little toe. Bringing awareness now to the whole of the left side of the body, all together, all the way through, like a freshly planted field of attention. And now plant your attention in the soles of the feet. And all the way up through the back of the body, the backs of the heels, backs of the knees, the buttocks, lower back, middle back, upper back, all of the back, right shoulder blade, left shoulder blade, in between the shoulder blades, back of the neck, back of the head, aware of the whole of the back of the body, all together, all the way through. And now plant your attention on the very top of the head and down through the front of the body, the forehead, the eyebrows, eyelids and eyeballs, tip of the nose and bridge of the nose, upper lip and lower lip, teeth, tongue, jaw, right ear and left ear, in between the ears, the base of the throat, the center of the chest, the center of the abdomen, the center of the pelvis, right hip, the left hip, and then let your attention be again in the whole of the right leg and the whole of the left leg, the whole of the right arm, and the whole of the left arm. Both legs together, and both arms together. Both legs and both arms all together. Experiencing now the whole of the body, all of the parts of the body, all together, all the way through. The whole body now like a freshly planted field of attention, of awareness. The whole body resting but awake, alert, and pulsating with life. And now experience the breath flowing in the body. The breath flowing through the body like water through the earth, nourishing the earth, nourishing the seeds. And with each exhalation, you may have a sense of rooting down. And with each inhalation, you might have a sense of growing up or expanding out. Earth below and sky above. Rooting down with each exhalation. And growing on each inhalation. Growing up, growing out. Exhaling, earth below. Inhaling, sky above. And somewhere within, earth and sky meet. And finding that place may feel like arriving home at your center. And arriving home at your center, you might now simply allow yourself to let go and to just be perfect as you are. Already complete. Welcome in now the sound of the bell. And welcome in the sounds around you, where you are. Taking some time to listen, and listen very attentively. to what it is you can hear, sounds nearby and sounds further away. Casting your attention out into the outside world around you, listening out for the furthest away sound. And now gathering your attention right back in to the world within you. And listen for the sound of your breath. And you may like to now gently deepen your breath. And enjoy some yawning or sighing, noisy breath. And find that you can use your breath to help you feel now more awake, more aware, more alert. And as you do that, pay attention to the position of your body and the contact between your body and the support underneath you. And be very clear about where you are and what it feels like where you are. The texture of any clothing or blankets against your skin, the touch sensation of any cushions or furniture that you're using for support. And welcome the touch sensation of your breath. You may feel the breath in your nostrils, at the back of your throat, or deep down inside your body. Connecting with your sense of smell. And lick your lips or run your tongue along your teeth. See what you can taste. Be aware of the watery sensation inside your mouth. Gently wriggle your fingers and wriggle your toes, yawn and stretch. And if you're lying down on your back, carefully roll over onto one side and take a little bit of time in a side-lying position to let your eyes gently open and adjust. And if you're already lying on your side, all you need to do is begin to gently blink your eyes open. And we're going to complete our practice today with a sitting practice. So when you feel ready to sit up, I'm going to suggest that that's what you do. And at this point, if you have a scarf handy, this is the point at which you might want to use your scarf. And we're just going to sit in quite a simple position, sitting on the floor with our legs outstretched in front of us. For most people, myself included, when we sit in this position, we'll have a tendency to slightly round our back, and for the pelvis, I've lost my model, but the pelvis that we were tipping forward and back in standing, it tends to tip backwards when we sit. And ideally, for this little practice that we're going to finish the session with, we want the pelvis, if not tipped forward, at least more upright. So you can do that by putting it on something. So I'm going to sit on my cushion. And already I feel that my pelvis is tipped forward slightly and I can sit upright with more ease. I'm actually going to put another cushion. I'm going to put a block because I don't have a cushion handy, but you can make a pile of pillows or cushions or yoga blocks, whatever you need, so that your pelvis has got room to tip forwards a little bit and you can sit up straight more easily. And you can also bend up the knees, but for this first thing we're going to do, it works nicely if you can keep the legs straight. So I've got both my legs straight and hip width apart. There's a little gap between my knees. So I'm going to leave my left leg straight and pick up my right knee. So I'm just bringing the foot in towards the the sit bone, not too tight, just comfortable, right knee bent. I'm going to loop the scarf around the ball of my left foot, and it's the ball of the foot, not the arch. So I can slightly push the scarf with the ball of the foot and really connect with this feeling of earthiness through the feet. And I'm just going to hold on to the scarf where I can keep my arms straight, lift my breastbone, keep my body upright. And then this right knee, I'm going to let it open out to the side. And you can do this static, i.e. stay still, or sometimes it's quite nice just to let this right knee flutter a little. I stress that it's fluttering, it's not sort of beating, just a little wiggle. A sort of earthy quality in the left leg and a slightly watery quality at the right hip. But if it feels better to you, just to let the hip open. My right foot isn't touching the left leg. I'll just gently let it open to one side. Okay. So I'm going to release the scarf. I'm going to use my hand to bring the right knee in. Straighten the legs out. You can do a little compare and contrast. Left side and right side. And then we'll do the same on the other side. So I'm going to pick up my left knee. So the knee is still in line with the hip, the ankle and the knee and the hip all in a line. The scarf loops around the ball of the right foot now. And I'm not particularly leaning forward or anything, I'm just trying to stay nice and upright. Pressing into the scarf with the ball of the foot. So this right leg feels really, really earthy, really strong, really stable and solid. And then the left hip can open or it can wiggle, or you could just leave it as it is. So it's more playful, it's more fluid, more watery. Shoulders down away from the ears, breastbone lifting. Rooting into the ball of the left foot, just underneath your big toe. And then we're going to release that. Use your hands to bring the left knee in. Both legs straight now, but wider apart. And we won't use the scarf, but if you can remember how that felt to be pressing the balls of your feet into the scarf, so there was some resistance, we're going to do that with the balls of our feet, so the toes stand up to attention, and the legs are a little bit active. So again, the legs are earthy, the legs are strong, not floppy. So this would be floppy legs, and now I'm going to press into the balls of the feet, toes stand to attention, front thighs are a little bit active, nice and earthy. And I'm going to let my pelvis now, my watery pelvis, make a circle. And it might just be a little teeny tiny circle with your hands on your hips. Or you might find that you would quite enjoy a very big circle. And you might find it's quite a nice idea to imagine you had a big pot between your legs and you're stirring your pot. And you can stir it halfway around as you breathe in and halfway around as you breathe out. So making your circles big or small according to what feels right for you. And then changing the direction and circling back the other way. And we're going to do a sort of spiraling inward movement. So you're going to make your circles gradually smaller and smaller and smaller And you might like to close your eyes, and as the external movement gets smaller and smaller and smaller and pretty much stops, you could let an internal movement continue, as though the spiraling movement now goes inside your body and is kind of working its way, spiraling up and up, around and around your spine or around the midline of your body, so that your head could be gently lifted up away from your pelvis. And if you've ever had the pleasure of watching an Archimedes screw in motion, it spirals around and around and around and pumps water from low down to higher up. And if you've not seen an Archimedes screw in action, you might have seen a chocolate fountain. It does a very similar thing. It's got a thing that goes around and around, spiraling around and around, and the chocolate moves from the bottom all the way to the top. And when it gets to the top, it sort of flows out in a beautiful fountain. And you might have a sense now like that in your own body, like a sense of something moving from the base of your spine around and around, spiraling upward, bringing your head up away from your pelvis, and then it overflows out the top of your head and over and down. And then turn your hands away from your body. And with an inhalation, bring the palms of your hands together. And exhale, guide them into the center of your chest. Namaste.